Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Spark of Genius Flesh and Blood production. Joining my co-creator, co-commentator, co-caster, co-compatriot Rob on the bottom
Hello.
here. And we're wrapping up the Spark of Mediocrity, or a little bit late. Obviously, we had to have a couple
Yeah.
interviews in the middle here because we wanted to get that kind of content out there ASAP for Rhodes, but it's a little bit more, maybe possibly some Rhodes content here. The deck tech we decided to do is the Olympia deck. The reason is because our heroes were KO, Olympia, and Betsy.
Right.
KO,
KO's
there's really no
handled.
point. KO, like
Well,
Yuki handled
not by
KO. We
me,
had the video.
but we had the
No, no,
video
no.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
So we
we went
decided let's just
through.
drop the KO content. We've got what we
Yes.
needed. But there
Yes.
were two more heroes, of course, that you played, Betsy and Olympia.
Correct.
Betsy kinda fell under the
Betsy's too far. I think she's just too far.
yeah.
She has no weapon. Like she I don't the problem is I don't think her mechanic is really good for this meta at the moment. Like I don't think she really does well into a lot of the top heroes. Like she gets crushed by Kasai. I don't think she has legs into KO. I don't think she'll do well against Dromai. Like she's just kind of bad Bravo in those kinds of matchups. Like
hmm
I don't think she does enough to really stand out.
Yeah.
And I think she's gonna need more specific support to her mechanic because +1 overpower for a yellow is just like
hmm
Bravo yellow for dominate's just better in most scenarios, right? And like the
Yeah.
wager and the good time chapeau is fine, but there's a lot of decks that just don't care, and like you
Yeah.
can't really get gold into a lot of those matchups. And if you're so gold starved to have to run like I don't know, test to strike. My point is she needs a lot more
hmm
help, in my
Whereas on
opinion.
the other side,
So
we have Olympia, who actually has a gimmick that might work in several circumstances. I think, and he's
yeah,
got
I
something
think
unique that makes him worth playing.
I think up the ante, his specialization card
Right.
in heavy hitters is just a lot better than Bet Big. And to the
There it is.
point
Yeah.
where Bet Big is like fine, but then you remember that you're losing Starstruck and Crippling Crush by not playing
hmm
Bravo.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
then you're just like, oh, that feels whack. But
Yeah.
at least Golden Sun for Victor is super unique because if you reveal it off the clash, you get to straight up just draw it and like 10 overpower them kind of thing. So he's got a little bit more upfront synergy. And I think that's kind of his mechanic is just so much easier to get value out of. Okay, I
Cool.
digress. We're talking about Olympia here.
let's
Talking to the other one.
let's start off with the actual hero and the weapon, maybe just to keep the context or
Yes,
build the context.
very
Yeah.
sure, very easy. So the ability is the first time you win a wager, create a goal. So it has to be attacks. So it could be wagering on the weapon. That
Mm.
still works. That's still an attack. That is something pretty important to note because of your headpiece, the prize Galea, which specifically works on that to create that synergy there. So other than that,
Mm-hmm.
pretty stock standard, not particularly exciting. So we'll go to the prize Galea because that is
Cool. Yeah.
his
Okay.
helmet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it is a nice temper 2, so you're getting a three block out of it if you want. However, usually what you're gonna end up doing is 2 and then use the attack reaction.
Mm-hmm.
So it destroys it, and then the weapon attack wagers gold with the defending hero. So it's a wager on demand, kind of like Good Time Chapeau, where you're using a gold to create a wager. Here, you're just creating a gold wager. So very similar kind of idea, but this one does cost 1 as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to good time just costing the gold.
Costing gold.
Now, creating a gold wager on your axe turns on a bunch of stuff. So we'll talk into that about a minute. We will talk. This is a great axe build. So no double
Yeah.
hatchets, no double
Yeah.
swords. I know people are working with like Centauri Hot Streak and like stuff like that. I like this axe. You want to know why I like this axe? It reminds me of like cracked Nothos, and by that
Mm-hmm.
I like a 3 for 4 as like a good stat line. But I like this gimmick more than I like a Nothos because don't get me wrong, a Nothos is a really great weapon. However, and then you get to target with pummel and stuff like this, where here is not a club or hammer, right?
Mm-hmm.
But um, the ability to half the first non-equipment in this format very very strong because that enables very good value off the block card. So if you're facing a victor, you cut his test of strengths in half from 4 to a 2. Into any D reacts, you also cut that.
Mm-hmm.
um, but the key is that you turn any 3 into a 2, and the ability to just like block with 1 card and only take 1 life is just off the table, right? Which is quite nice for end game mechanics. So you've got a bit of a pair not parachute, like safety net.
Safety
You've got
net.
a bit of a
Okay.
safety net. Yeah, in case things are getting into the long game and that's where you're kind of heading. The Great Axe is a very good insurance policy for that because
Yeah.
you're able to outvalue a lot of their blocks. The chest piece situation
Yeah.
is we're main decking the Grains of Blood Spill with Tunic and the sideboard. However, this could change. I really like Grains because of the ability to carry over the resource
Mm-hmm.
via the vigor, which reminds me a lot of with seismic surge. So very similar kind of idea where you're carrying forward that one resource. This is
Yeah.
kind of this one is temper. It's not battle worn, just like a tectonic. Unfortunately, that would be crack if this was battle worn. Be really good.
Yeah, how does it
Um,
a small add-on question. How does it work if this costs 3, right? You want to kind of bring one resource over. Is there anything you because a single blue card pays for the Decimator Great Axe, right? So I guess
mhm.
if you play something else that turn, you have one floating for
Yeah,
some reason.
it's more for like that carry forward for if you get that one turn. There's a lot of like one cost pumps
Yeah,
in
okay. Yeah.
or there's things to do with one that you can do with
Mm-hmm.
like if you have a double blue and you like pitch a blue for a buff
Yeah.
and then pitch another blue for a swing, you can carry one forward and then use one for prize galea if you want. Like there's things to do with those extra like 2 card resources if they don't do anything.
Right.
There's also like e-strike and cards that you can like get rid of those extra cards that you were going to use for your regular hand, you could just put it towards E-Strike. So generally, once you're able to do that, you can then block with that extra 3 block. You already have the vigor, and so you can have like you could use that one for lead with speed, pitch a blue to axe for 7, get an agility, right?
Cool.
So it creates nice ability to get more value off your overall hand, and by value I mean the total value of your hand block plus attack. So if you're blocking with 3 cards for 3 each, you're getting a 9 off that. Your vigor gains 3, and then the last blue gains the axe. So you're really getting 9 plus 4 plus 3 because of that vigor, right? So you've got 7 plus 9, which is 16. A 16 is a very good value for your turn. And
Mm-hmm.
grains kind of helps. Now, tunic, on the other hand, it's unconditional, right? So if you're gonna have that extra off tunic, you're gonna get it. It's just slower, right?
Yep.
And that's the main difference. You get more off the grains, and it's slower. The other thing is I wanted to run Shunt in this deck, and you need
Mm-hmm.
Tunic for Shunt. That's a very big piece of that. These two work very well together. And
Yeah.
Vigor doesn't you don't have the pitch. Like
Right.
Vigor is start of
Yeah.
turn, right? So it doesn't
It
work with that.
makes sense to have both of these guys in the sideboard then kind of play them as a package. But we'll
Correct.
talk about that afterwards
Right.
here. So
We will.
cool.
So that's
All
that's that's
right.
the chess piece. The boots, refraction bolters. There's really no like you're not gonna run dynamo because you're not two
Yep.
one-handed. You're only a two-hander. Also, the go again is actually still relevant. Like you could still start off with the axe bolters, and if you have like some kind of pump for it, so what you could do is you can use prize galea, add a wager gold for it, and then use oh, not take the upper. Is it take the upper hand? I forgot what the pump is. Yeah, take the upper hand. So the right below the runner there on the left next to the cash
Uh,
in. On the other side.
under.
Next
Sorry,
to the
I'm
cash
lost.
in.
Oh, there it is. Sorry. Yeah, yeah.
There we go. So play only if you wager. So target attack is +3. So you could turn on this for your weapon by using Price Galea and then pump by 3, right? So you're able to actually do that, hit with your axe, gain go again with bolters if you don't have an agility, and that's a way to gain go again, right? So it's an armor with another way of gaining go again if you don't have an agility. That's kind of the idea between bolters if you need to use it. It's usually just one armor, which is fine.
Yeah.
Greyforge
Yeah.
bolters, I at the moment I value the one extra life compared to the courage. The courage on hit. The I forgot what the other arm piece is called. The one that came through
Yeah, yeah,
Dust Till
yeah.
Dawn. It's
Yeah,
the
I know
it's
which
the
one you're talking about.
two, yeah, it's the two temper, right? It's the
The
two
temper.
temper.
I think it gives you like a courage or something
If you pay one courage on hit, so
on
it
hit.
allows you to like have some kind of thing with your weapon. However, I don't know how often I'm gonna be having that one extra to pitch. And for now, I'm sticking with Brave Forge. That could change. I could see the other arm piece coming
Hmm.
in.
I will say it
Um,
might be a little nicer because you have such a good chance of hitting with Decimated Great Axe because of the reduction of health or armor that
you
it might
do.
be worthwhile trying. But I think in maybe most matchups you'll prefer running the Brave Forge bracers.
Yeah, I think it really comes down to how much I value that kind of one life. And it really depends on the matchup. But it is something that I tried a little bit.
Yeah.
And at the time, the curve didn't really support having that one extra pitch a lot because it never
Especially if you're
usually.
playing the grains too. So you got a lot of directions that your
Yeah,
resource can go, right? You don't really need to rely on that extra source from your gloves.
yeah. I never usually was stuck with like one extra pitch and be like, oh, I wish I had this to,
Yeah.
use with my arms and make
Hmm.
Great Axe have a courage on it. So that's the kind of main suite and a little bit of the side suite with the tunic.
Yeah.
The main deck here, so I split it up into 51 card main deck, and then
Hmm.
there is a sideboard, of course, of
24.
including equipment. Yeah, so there is a bit more of a defensive package and a little bit more of an offensive package with a couple of tech cards. So the main board, which is going to be 24 blues, I believe, 24 reds and some yellows. I think 3 yellows are just the cash in.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of these are self-explanatory. Things like CNC, E-Strike, good like 3 blocks. This deck does make agility, so something like E-Strike with agility, quite
Hmm.
good. It runs runner, it runs runner, runner.
Yeah.
So the triple runner, runner because of the agility. So you have things like wind up, and you have things like lead with speed that you do
Yeah.
create agility. You also have
Right.
wage agility in the sideboard for a kind of a more aggressive package. So runner, runner is still pretty good. Edge
Edge
ahead is
ahead
the
as
other one where
well.
you yeah, you have 3 reds, 3 blues. I'm considering adding some yellows. I haven't really got that far yet as far as if I like them compared to some of the other options.
Hmm.
So edge ahead is still
Yeah.
quite good. Again, as you said, since axe is pretty hard to block efficiently just because of that halving,
Hmm.
it makes it so if you edge ahead axe for 7, they can't just throw two. They can't just throw a 3 block and a attack defense reaction for 4. Like that's not going to work. In fact, you're just going to take 2. You're going to need a 3 card, or you're going to need add some armor, which is pretty good. I will take that extra piece if they have like a 2 block armor just for an edge ahead to get
Yeah.
agility. That's fine. Because you could always still just buff it again with like Galea take the upper hand, stuff like that, or like Fatal Engagement Blue even and stuff that allows you to. Yeah, it is a thing.
It's
It
still
is
two for
plus
three.
3.
Yeah.
It is a 2 for 3 if you need it, right? So it is something that you can kind of get through the blue felling swing if you really need to. Like gives you 4 if you have that extra blue, and
There you go.
take the
Yeah.
upper hand. I mean, take the upper hand is cracked, right? Like you could pretty easily buff it by literal 1 and get over. Sorry, up the ante, not take the upper
Okay.
hand. Can't do
Yeah.
it with the delay. I was talking about take the ante. So you
Yeah.
have
Up the
enough
ante.
buffs. Yeah, you have enough buffs that it's very, very easy to threaten that agility because of the buff density you have. So I
Hmm.
will I will talk a little bit about up the ante for a sec because it is
Sure.
an interesting card in and of itself. So generally, as I've played through the deck, I've found that it's not it's not always worth it to be greedy for the exact blue. So what I mean by the exact blue is to save a blue to use with up the ante. Um, that allows it to give it like the +3 and then all the things. Sometimes it's fine to just like buff it by 1 or 2 or something along those lines. So you'd gain like let's say you have a red or you have like the vigor, right?
Mm.
And it gives you the exact 1 extra. It's like okay, well you could do this +1 and then wager agility, right? So you wager the agility. Target gains +Y. Y is the number of times it's been wagered, so it gets +1 because you're wagering agility. It's +1 in agility off 1 pitch, off like 1 random pitch and then a blue card. You're still getting over, and when you get the wager, you get a gold on top of it
Right.
because it's Olympia, right? And so if you're getting that gold, you also have more fuel if
Flexibility.
you yeah flexibility when you hand up because it's 24 blues. So sometimes you do have a lot of blues, and you just want to go searching your deck for like some more threats. You can also use the gold for cash in, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you've definitely got a bit of not not the best gold you like it's good, don't get me wrong, cards are good, but it's just more cards. I'd wish I'd have more like actual output.
Like
But the
threats.
second one,
Yeah.
yeah, the second one's double down. So if you look at double down for a sec, right above
Double
cash in, directly above
down.
cash in.
There we go. Yep.
So here's your other sink, your other gold sink, right? So you could pay the gold cost instead of paying 2, and then the next one that wages +3 overpower, and that's kind of a way to force a lot of damage. And then if you 1 or more tokens on the wager, you get an extra one, right? So you can
Mm.
gain 2 agilities
Two
doesn't really help
agilities.
you very it
Yeah.
doesn't really help you very
I
much,
think
but
vigor is one of the other ones I think that you can create, or gold.
this
I
one's
guess you
gold.
get two golds. Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of gold. I mean, you have a lot of cash-ins, right? So if you're able to like draw a shit ton of cards, and then it actually is a deck that can use a lot of floating pitch because you do have like 1 extra for vigor for the grains of blood spell. You can use it for like up the ante to pay an extra blue. There are sinks for it. But really, it's the +3 overpower, and there's that sneaky combo where you literally just you could double down axe, but the axe is in wagering, and then you prize Galea on the double down procs, which is pretty funny.
Yeah.
Which we got during that one of those games, I think versus Yichin in the gameplay section. It's like that works. That's a legal play.
Hmm.
Uh, but the other thing is like, oh, okay, well, you could use prize Galea, and then you can also then take the upper hands. You can up the ante. Like you could threaten a whole bunch of tricks, which your opponent might not be expecting, right? Because you could be like, oh, here's double down, use the gold, but you don't have anything. And so they
Hmm.
just overblock straight up because it's like, okay, well, I have so much gold, I'll just use a card and I'll get a bunch of cards off of them or something like that. And then you just save it for later. So it's
Right.
great. It's like you're fading pummel. It's really funny. Yeah, so that's double down. Any other cards I
Cool.
want to talk about in the first row? I think Money Where Your Mouth is pretty explanatory. It gives you the
Yeah.
wager, so it's a target for take the upper hand and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Gold is always nice.
How
Um,
so to speaking to the gameplay a little bit, there's a lot of agility generation. How important
yes.
is agility to your turn to turn? Like, what kind of
So
things could you do with an agility token in this deck?
you need the agility for the more aggressive decks, and that's because like they're not gonna care about the axe. They're just gonna take the 4. Like 2 block decks are not gonna give you a card that blocks for 1 after you half it. So they're just gonna keep all their cards. So you always need to be threatening more damage and more triggers. So the way you want to do that is through things like Runner Runner, a
Hmm.
very very good aggressive card, creating the agility. So you have it. Runner Runner creates the agility, and then you can do things like Runner Runner CNC. You could do like E Strike draw a card, give it like go again. Oh, sorry, give it draw a card, gets go again from the agility, and then hit him with the axe. But you can buff it with you can like double
Hmm.
down axe, take the upper hand, stuff like that. Uh,
Yeah.
you're also able to, and then there's the rest of the offensive package down below. We can talk a little bit about it because you're talking about agility.
Hmm.
If we go down to the inventory, you see there's a couple snatches there and a couple
Right.
wage agilities. So what you could do if you don't have like a lead with speed, that just like gives you the agility or a runner, then you could do things like you could pitch axe with agility and then pitch wage agility for 7, right? So then your axe for 4, they don't block whatever, but then you hit him for 7 and be
Yeah.
like, okay, give me cards, right?
Yeah.
And this wages, so you can target with all your buffs. Your 0 for 3s affect this. Your up the ante targets this. It's pretty easy to buff, and it will create you that agility to keep that train going.
Right.
And
Do you,
snatch obviously drawing you the card.
so I guess do you often see the attack action cards like Snatch getting the agility token, or is it more the Decimator Great Axe like that kind of uses the agility token the most, or just hand by
Uh,
hand, whatever?
you generally want to end on the axe. I don't. You either only are swinging axe or you're ending on axe. So you
Okay.
use the agility on like runner, E strike, snatch. Depending if you have an arsenal or not. Wage agility, things like that. CNC is a pretty good one. Like CNC
Yeah.
with 6 go again. Force cards and then do whatever. You can end on CNC if you want, but eventually they end up just like crowning it, like using Crown of Providence or something like that.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
Also, it's a matter of like, well, it depends on how much armor they have left because they're more incentivized to block with armor on the axe because the axe won't reduce the blocking on the armor.
Yeah.
So because it's not equipment, so your armor will get full value. So I like to sometimes, if it's a deck with a ton of armor, then I'll start with axe, try to incentivize them to block with their armor to get more value off of it, then hit them with like CNC and stuff like that,
Hmm.
with the agility. Or if for some reason they let it hit, I can bolters, and then if I don't have agility, I can bolters the axe,
Right.
and then hit him with like a CNC with a blue. So I can hit him with the axe, pitch a blue, create a vigor off grains, use the extra 2 floating CNC.
Yep.
So that's kind of like one of the things you can try to extract value off your blues. And you're running 24 blues. You are running like a healthy chunk. It used to be 27. I cut it down for the 3 cash-ins because I just need another
Mm.
thing to put the gold
Use
towards. I didn't think
gold
double
for.
down was good enough. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, searching for extra cards is still powerful, but cash in is more powerful into specifically decks you're trying to race. Cash in will just give you extra cards to keep hitting them with,
Yeah.
which is very useful. So that's the
Cool.
more aggressive package.
All
So if
right.
you want to go aggressive 51, you're adding in like wage agility, you're adding in snatch, you're adding in agile windup, and you're
Mm-hmm.
adding in take it on the chin.
Okay.
That's 9, I think. Take it on the chin's a new card. It's pretty interesting. It's damage prevention. However, it is another agility source. So again, key. You want to get a lot of this agility because
Yeah.
what
Okay.
you want to do
Yeah.
is like axe into E strike, axe into CNC, blah 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 blah. Like you want to be able to in a lot of these matchups where you want to try to be more aggressive. You need to be doing more than just swing axe pass. Like that's not how you're going to win those matchups, right?
Oh,
So
right.
some matchups you might want all of them. So you add in the windups. The windups are also a popper, like a 7 cost popper.
Right.
The same thing with wage agility. So you get more like sevens as your popper, which helps for like Herald of Triumph and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. Because you already run CNC also, so you have like a good chunk of popper. I think you get 3, 6, 8 poppers, which isn't awful. You could probably add some more poppers if you wanted to do that. You'd probably, if you have a lot of Dromais or Prisms in your matchup,
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably take it on the chin, and I'd probably add in some more 7 cost poppers. So either could be windups, it could be what's that card? The one that you gain a lot, Findle's Fighting Spirits, things like
Mm-hmm.
that. Red Findle's Fighting Spirits. You
Right.
could add those. So I would say that would be a nice change if you do have a lot of illusionists in your meta and you're trying to like have some game into illusionist. Illusionist is pretty hard for warrior in general, but the axe will be able to kill a lot of the dragons because it's a 4. So it'll kill anything Moraga and under. But yeah, you definitely do have some kind of poppers and you're able to do that. And agility is quite good because you're able to like E-strike them for like 7/7. You get go again from agility, and then you pitch and axe the dragon or something like that, right? So you're still able to do that. You also have cleave. Cleave is specifically
Mm-hmm.
for Dromai because if you can tell, this card is really really good. It's a 1 for 4, and then if it hits a hero or ally, dragons are allies. You deal that much damage to another hero.
Yep.
Um, sorry, another ally or hero. So because it's axe, what you have to do is the axe comes in for 8. So you can just axe a big dragon. This is specifically for big dragons. So what you do is if you have an Uvia on board, Necri on board, stuff like that, then you pitch, cleave, hit one, and then collateral another. Or if
Yep.
there's a second one that you don't really, if there's for some reason if you want to save this for like a big dragon you think is coming, you could do that too. And then worst case is just a 1 for 4 that blocks for 3, which is still
Which
pretty
is
good
great.
ratios. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a little on the
Yeah.
overkill side. I think the blue might also be fine, but we have the red because it's supposed specifically good for the big dragons.
Right. Is there a
Because
reason why you don't want to
Uvia,
play it kind of in the main board just for the 1 for 4, or is it kind of too niche?
it's just not good enough. It's
Yeah.
just
Okay.
not. It's a 1 for 4 is fine, but it's not a reaction. It's like they
Right.
expect it,
It's
right?
fair.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's like the ratios are good, but I think there's better cards in the main board.
Yeah.
Um, then you have
Yeah.
your more defensive package. So this is Tunic.
We got
You bring
these
in Tunic and you go
shunts.
3. Yeah, you go 3/3/3.
Okay.
So you
And
can
that
go
adds up to
Fate
9,
Sync.
right? You're at
Yeah, that adds up to
51.
9. Yeah,
Or
there's
I
also
guess, yeah, so 333. So three shuns, three face, three sinks.
yeah, and you can also run Take It on the Chin. So if you scroll up here,
Yeah.
um, those two it's really kind of dependent. So I would probably be more in the line to cutting cash-ins,
Right. Two blocks,
just
I guess.
because 2 blocks, but they're also very like it's harder to get gold. If they're a very kind of if it's a grindy out deck, it's fine, but they're going to be more likely to block your wagers.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd probably cut maybe one cash in and then look at like some of the reds that you don't necessarily need. I think if you're kind of screwing with your agility base, if you don't have as much agility, I'd probably have to keep cards like runner, but it really depends on the matchup at that point. Like money where your
Yeah.
mouth is isn't as good. Probably
Right.
would cut those. So it'd be like maybe one money where your mouth is, one cash in, add in to take it on the chins, and that
Yeah.
would be a more defensive
I mean,
package.
the buffs are a little
And
harder to play if you're into an aggressive hero who's gonna just kind of keep stripping cards from your hand. It's
mhm,
like,
yeah,
yeah, you'd rather just probably just pitch for the great axe or something like that.
yeah, and the matchups that you're gonna run there is like the decks that just outvalue. They're very very fast. So decks like KO, I'd probably bring in a more defensive build, so bringing in like the sinks, shunts, all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just because it's very very difficult to like if he has like pop off turns, it's very hard for you to be like I'll take it and then come back for like
Right.
11 or 12 because he's got armor, and your deck is also very susceptible to Scowling Fleshbag, taking one of your cards away. So I like playing a more drawn out value game compared to a like run at your face game. Uh, Also like decks like Ninja, same kind of idea. I think reacts are something you don't need to play Shunt, but like playing the Sinks and the Fates are very very good. Getting grains for the armor, take it on the chin, stuff like that, and then like run snatches or something like that because very awkward from them to block unless they're running D reacts, and a lot of
Right.
them are very
Well,
very
two
streamlined into
blocks.
aggro. So I don't have like a detailed sideboard for every single matchup. Those are kind of the general notes,
Mm-hmm.
and you kind of
Yeah.
take that as you go. And then you're running 3 Nullrune because
You
Kano
just
is alive
respect
and well.
Kano, yeah.
Yeah, you respect Kano. You're also on 24 blues. It's a lot of blues. Like you could afford to run 3 Nullrune. And you also have Take It on the Chin, which is 2 prevention. That's just like straight up 2 prevention. So you can run Take It on the Chin,
Mm-hmm.
and you can potentially block a full Wildfire, right? Because you pitch a blue, prevent 3, Take It on the Chin, prevent 2. So you're blocking Wildfire for 5, which is quite
That
good.
is pretty good.
That's like the second reason for taking on the chin. But in
Yeah.
reality, I think Up the Ante is a very good card, and so the deck is
Right.
definitely worth like
Just kind of,
exploring
yeah,
just
just
based on this card.
because he has a really good specialization card. Yeah. This card was
Yeah,
nuts. Yeah. A blue,
it's
block 3. It's got everything.
it's a reaction. It's like 3+1, so you can get a +3 off a blue attack reaction that wages was agility, vigor, gold, and then you get another gold off Olympia.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So that gold generation is kind of I would like another sync for the gold.
Mm-hmm.
Cash in is fine.
Yeah.
Drawing cards is fine. Double down is fine. I feel like there needs to be for this deck to be like on the
Yeah.
same kind of power level as KO in my mind. I need another. This deck can beat KO, however, to like really be comfortable in that matchup. Um, I would want to see like some other expansion card slot specifically geared towards using
Payoff,
gold.
right?
Yeah, like just anything, because this hero creates a lot of like kind of like Kasai. The heroes create a lot of gold.
Mm-hmm.
But Kasai, you can use the gold, draw a card, and your
So
swords are
swords.
free.
Oh, yeah, that too. Yeah,
Oh, your swords are free and you have Raised Army. I wasn't even talking about Raised
yeah.
Army. Like,
Yeah.
just pretend Raised Army doesn't even exist, right?
Yeah.
So you have 2 ways built into the hero and the specialization that does it. Whereas Up the Ante is great, but it doesn't actually use the gold.
Yeah.
And Olympia hero
Just
creates
creates
more
more.
gold, which is fine.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
where's the, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of one of the reasons why I think Kasai is just a little bit better positioned than Olympia, even though I think Olympia is still strong.
Mm-hmm.
I think Kasai is in a bit better of an overall state because
Yeah.
she has very obvious payoffs, and those payoffs can actually be a plan to win games because self swords are actually pretty lethal in some matchups.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, do you
yeah.
see yourself using the gold effect at all in your matchups? I guess just to fix your all blue hands,
Oh yeah.
or
Oh yeah.
yeah,
I've totally done it before because
yeah,
all blue hands, and then you still have the one floating pitch. So if you
for a
get the
buff or
buff,
something. Yeah,
yeah. So sometimes if I have 2 blues left, but I have a bunch of gold, you pitch the blue, and you could pretty easily draw like money where your mouth is, lead with
mm-hmm.
speed, something like that,
Yeah. Or if you
and
have only like
then
one card left to pitch for a great axe and you have one floating, you could definitely use the greens
correct.
too to carry
Yes.
it over.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. So if you use it, you draw the card, and maybe you just want to arsenal that other card. Maybe it's like on a CNC, right? And you have no arsenal, so you like draw the arsenal. You pitch your other blue, you swing the axe, you have one floating. If the axe hits, you use it to create the vigor, and then you arsenal CNC. Or if you have tunic, you have that anyways, and you get the one floating, then you just
Mm,
play the CNC if you have an agility for the axe, right?
right.
So I think there's a lot of good flexibility with grains. So that's why I haven't cut it yet. I can foresee it being a tunic only deck. I don't know if that's. I don't. I feel like the extra 2 life is just a little bit too good when I'm trying
Right.
to grind
There
out
there is
opponents.
that. Yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah, because you get 2, and then you get 2, 2, 2, 1, so you get a 7 essentially. So essentially you get an easy
Easy
6,
CNC
ignoring your
block.
bolters.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then on another CNC I can use bolters Galea and a 3 block if I want and keep the grains up. or if I want to use if I think I'm going to use the prize, I can block with the grains if I really want to, and it's late game, right?
Yeah.
So I really do think it's quite good, and really shunt is the main reason why I'm going to want it.
Yeah.
And again, I do need to hit with the weapon. So it is a matchup that if I'm gonna run the weapon, if I'm gonna swing the weapon a lot, I feel I'm gonna have like a bunch of cards to swing it. That's when Grains really kind of shines. I might add more one cost things to pay out like one cost spot. That's where the yellow edge heads kind of came into play. It's
Right.
another one cost source for the vigors. If around the yellows, you'd have lead with speed, money where your mouth is, and edge ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry, scroll down for a sec. Is
Yeah.
there any? Am I missing any other ones? No, I don't think so. I
I
think
think
it's
that
pretty
was
much
it,
just
right?
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as like the main deck buffs to be able to cleave, I guess technically counts if
Right.
that's
But yeah.
it is a one cost there. So I think that's also something to consider. But
Hmm.
I like the deck so far. I think it's a very fun deck to play.
Yeah.
Uh,
Were there any underperforming cards that you're kind of on the fence of cutting in this deck? Or still kind of experimental in the sense that they could go when something better comes up?
yeah, I think I like my blue. Like the blues are fine. Like
Yeah. I think
I
they're
think the
all
blue
kind
base is
of
fine.
they've got a couple block twos. But
You do, but the agility vigor is super nice. Like
yeah.
agility vigor off a card because it's agility vigor and it lets you play out multi blue hands. So if they do nothing, it's kind of the same idea in limited. You get to just play this card straight up to get
Right. Similar to agile windup, I guess, if they just
exactly
let you keep
creates an
it.
agility.
Yeah.
Nice turn, nice early turn, like a turn zero play. If you don't want to swing axe, you
True.
can just still discard the wind up. I think wage agility is still fine because it's a wage card.
Mm-hmm.
Fatal Engagement's kind of mediocre, but is 3 block. I don't really. There's not really a lot of buffs
Yeah.
that hit axes. Is the issue,
And it's a
other than
blue
like
block three. I think if you have blue block threes that have fringe use cases, it's probably a good card to have.
yeah.
Uh,
I am considering like adding more Fatal Engagements in the
uh,
sideboard, like reds or yellows, just to bump up the
just
number of
red
attack reactions in the
plus five,
deck.
I guess. Red five,
Red is
yellow
plus
four.
5. Yeah, I think the yellow is probably better just because with the vigor you can actually just pitch
Great
it and
X.
swing the axe. So,
Yeah.
so I'm a little bit more tempted to run the yellows. That is something that I have looked at. Um,
Cool.
in the sideboard, I think that the extra agiles are kind of an experiment and they're very very specific. I'd like to find room for another snatch. I really haven't found it yet. If I were to take out the
Right.
grains, it'd probably be to add another snatch.
Actually, I didn't catch that you only had two snatch.
Yeah, because I'm on two take it on the chins because I think take it on the chin is pretty powerful, especially
Mm,
for like Kano specifically for like that thing I mentioned, but
yep.
also just another
Source of
non-attack prevention. Yeah, because you
agility.
can. It works against dominate. It works against overpower. It works against all that kind of stuff. So
Right.
it's just so flexible, right? And it
Yeah.
lets you swing back with like a 2 card. Oh, I have blue and snatch. I play this and I just literally come back for 8 with an on hit
Yeah.
with just a blue and another card. That's
It's
pretty
pretty good.
good.
Yeah.
Uh, Double Down is the one card that I'm just like, it's so difficult to use in the main board. So just on the top,
Yeah.
Double Down, like
It
it's
is
it's
it is
not
the
even just like
payoff for gold though. I think you kind of want these for that reason.
it's fine, but it's like the next attack that wagers. So I really need other things with it.
It's a
Like if I
big
have,
turn.
it's a big setup,
Yeah.
right? Like if I have Double Down, Edge Ahead, or Double Down, Money where your mouth is, that's fine. But the thing is, like Double Down, Edge Ahead is like, okay, well, I don't need 2 agilities. Like it doesn't really.
Yeah.
It's more conducive to like might, vigor. And then it's like money where your mouth is. Okay, you're creating even more gold, so it would
Right.
create 3 gold because 2 off this and 1 off Olympia.
Yeah.
Which is like, okay, cool. I have more gold to use for double downs to do whatever.
You just
Like I
keep
don't.
popping them by pitching, and then you just have like an extra three resources on your turn, I guess.
Yeah, it's really just like converting gold into +3 overpower. That's really the idea. And
Yeah.
double down into up the ante is sick memes. Like that is
Yeah.
like the big combo, right? Because you up the ante turns everything into wage. So
Right. And you're
that's
pretty
kind of
much winning
what.
because of the dominate or the not overpower. I mean.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's like what you do the thing and then you overpower. Well, I mean, overpower is less like the overpower is more with like edge ahead. Like that's the more obvious play. Uh, but getting the +3 just like random +3 in reaction stuff without actually using it as a reaction is just kind of funny.
Hmm.
So up the ante is like actually if you pitch a blue, it's a +6 because of the double down, right? So you get the
Right.
3 off the double down, and then you get another 3 off the up the ante. So it's effectively a blue for 6, which is funny, but you would still get 2 vigor, 2 gold, 2 agility, and then an extra gold off Olympia. So
Yeah.
you're just like,
Yeah, he's just
I
rolling
don't
in it.
know. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's kind of like very niche. I think I'd still be okay with some yellow edge aheads. Possibly 2 is where I'm kind of leaning towards, like a 3-2-3, possibly a 9 of. Like maybe it's just that good. I still have to kind of figure that out.
Yeah.
And the
Um.
cash-ins are the cash-ins. It draws
Yeah.
cards.
And I guess real quick, in what situations does this deck really excel, and which situations do you think it kind of lacks? It kind of is it better into aggro, or is this aggro kind of a bit of a rough patch for this deck?
I think you've got enough armor and annoyances that aggro is fine. I think the issue that I see is like Prism is really not great. I don't think it ever was kind of great, but
Yeah.
Prism just happens to like Dory can do some like ridiculous shit that Olympia just can't to get around Prism.
Right. But
So
you
that's
have
a
the
bit
poppers on
awkward.
your side, right? Dory
Yeah,
has much fewer poppers than
yeah, you have like
Olympia.
CNC and Runner as like 6 powers, and you've got some extra 7 powers in the sideboard, another 5 poppers. But
Mm-hmm.
in reality, Prism can get around those pretty like it's not that difficult for her to get around those kinds of things.
Right.
And especially if they just start playing auras, you don't really have like maybe I need to run time skippers. I'm not really sure if Prism becomes a
Just
big
for
issue.
that matchup. Yeah.
Yeah, because the agility is great, but like you really do need the action point to get around Arclight and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Dromai is also like kind of annoying because unlike Dawnblade, you don't get like a scaling counter thing, so they can just kind of spam with dragons, and like Cleave is good, but I don't think it makes it a winning matchup. So
Right.
I'm not too sure about how to make that better. I'm actually okay with a lot like the mid-range decks and control decks are really where this shines. Like
Okay.
I'm kind of cool with Guardian, um, and a lot of like the mid-range, like the Rhinar decks like that. I'm
Brutes.
pretty happy with that. Yeah, because I
Yeah.
can come in with like any package I want. Levia is like annoying, but like I think that you could still go kind of scrappy because you could bring in reactions and just like do whatever you want, and eventually she's gonna, either
Yeah.
either either hit you or not.
Fold or yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard for her to play around. Like she doesn't really run reactions, so it's hard for her to play around my wager reactions and stuff like that. So I could probably try to extract value there, but other than that, I don't think there's anything that like really came up as being
Yep.
super polarizing, other than maybe like the illusionist on one side.
Awesome.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then I haven't really played much of the grindier warrior matchups. Like I think Dory is kind of up in the air, and
Kasai as well, probably.
yeah, because you give them reprise. It's not like you're still blocking with a card, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Kasai is very grindy, but the nice thing about Kasai is you still get the half or blocking card. So it really like
Right.
you always run Dynamo, sure, but that Dynamo efficiency is like cut because Great Axe is taking another card. Like it's taking the blocking value off another card instead.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which I kind of like. And Kasai is like the ultimate grindy deck at the moment. So it's kind of very similar to the Guardian matchup, but Kasai has no like very good win con push throughs because she has no dominate. She has no like
Yeah.
overwhelmingly strong turns. And you can definitely chunk her out if she's not kind of paying attention. So this is like definitely as like a bit of a sleeper deck. I don't think anyone really is going to know how to play against Olympia, which, you know, decks that people don't practice against usually have an edge, at least at the very beginning. But
Yeah.
yeah, this was kind of the overall deck tech. Obviously, this is a template. If change it depending on what your local meta looks like, especially for roads. And with that, if you like this kind of content, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And for wherever you're watching in the world, have a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Bye for now.